You may all be seated. Friends, families, honored guests, faculty, and graduates, good afternoon to you all. My name is Dan Tokaji, and I am the Dean of the University of Wisconsin Law School. It is my great honor and privilege to welcome you all to our hooding ceremony today. I want to first acknowledge that this beautiful facility in which we celebrate today, as well as the University of Wisconsin-Madison and the law school, sit on historic Ho-Chunk lands, which the Ho-Chunk people have referred to as Teejop from time immemorial. In remembering this fact today, we honor them and remind ourselves of the moral responsibility that we as a university and that all of us have to Native nations and people. I want to welcome, first of all of our graduates today. Congratulations to you all. We are proud of you. We are delighted by all that you have accomplished. And we are so happy, and I know I speak for every single person in this room, that we're actually able to have an in-person ceremony to celebrate together today. I know that law school hasn't gone quite as you expected when you received that offer of admission. You started before the pandemic, then had to shift to online learning, then to a combination of online and in person before finally returning to fully in person instruction this year. It has been a tumultuous time, to say the least. And I salute you for everything you've endured, for the flexibility you've shown. Law school, you all know, is difficult under the best of circumstances. To get through it with all of the challenges that you have faced is nothing short of amazing. All of you should be proud of what you've accomplished, as we all are. Next, I want to welcome all the friends, family, and loved ones of the graduates who are gathered here today. It marks a special moment for you as well. We all know how important your support, your patience, your interest, and your love have been to our graduates. None of them would be here today without everything that you have provided for them. You have every reason to be proud of today's graduates as well. So please, let's give a round of applause to all who have supported our graduates. So I want to welcome as well our families and friends and loved ones who are streaming the ceremony online. Welcome to you. We are so excited that you are able to join us remotely. So here's what I'm going to do really quickly. I'm going to ask everyone on the stage to look at the camera that is behind the graduates. And if those of you who are in the audience want to do the same as well, let's all wave to the families and loved ones who are watching us from around the country and around the world. Thank you. Thank you so much to all of you for being with us today. Now, along with the stream, you can follow this year's ceremony, of course, on social media. We have a hashtag UW which you can see on the screens on both sides of the stage. We encourage everyone here today to use the hashtag throughout our ceremony. And if you're so inclined, you can take a moment right now. Uh, this is the selfie moment in the program to take a selfie of you and the people next to you. Please, if you'd like to do that, I'll pause for just a moment. If you want to pull your camera out, you should feel free to take a selfie of yourself with this hashtag. It will also work tomorrow for our ceremony at Camp Randall. And I know for people of my age, which many of you parents and other relatives are, this is a little bit, this is not like what our graduation was when we graduated, but it is a great way of collectively celebrating with everyone, those who are in this room and those who are outside this room. I want to welcome as well our honored guests on the stage this afternoon. They include Justice Rebecca Dallet, our yes, please. Our faculty speaker, Professor Heinz Klug. And our student speakers, Elise Ashley, Etioso Jomo, and Vaughn Dickens Abero Olsa. There you go. Also on stage are many of my colleagues, the University of Wisconsin law faculty and staff. As your teachers, mentors, and guides, We have been with you on this journey. We are all very pleased and proud to be able to share this day with you. This day when you transition from being our students to being our colleagues and friends. Um, there are also some faculty and staff I know who are in the audience, delighted to be here, but may not be so wild about wearing all the academic regalia. I do want to especially acknowledge the presence of one such faculty member, my predecessor, Dean Margaret Raymond, who served as dean for the first year of your experience. Dean Raymond made a special trip back here to see you all graduate, and we are very grateful for that. At this time, I would invite our faculty and staff present to stand as you are able and be recognized by our graduates, and that includes all of you in the audience. Please stand and be recognized. You may be seated. This is one of the great powers that I have as dean, the ability to get people to stand and sit. All right. So it's a happy day, but graduation is also for us who've watched you grow and developed and learn a bittersweet day because we are going to miss you so much. You've all made your own way here. You've built communities of connections and commitments around you. Please, please, we ask you, we beseech you, keep in touch with us. We very much will look forward to hearing from you in the years to come. Now, it's next my honor to introduce our keynote speaker, Justice Rebecca Dallet. Justice Dallet was elected to the Wisconsin Supreme Court in 2018. Prior to joining Wisconsin's highest court, Justice Dallet served as a judge in the Milwaukee Circuit Court for a decade. She previously served as the first female presiding court commissioner for Milwaukee County, as a Milwaukee County Assistant District Attorney, and as a Special Assistant U.S. Attorney. She received her bachelor's degree, summa cum laude with honors in Phi Beta Kappa from The Ohio State University. She subsequently received her JD, also summa cum laude, from Case Western Reserve University School of Law in '94. Justice Dallet is passionate about equal access to justice and about empowering women as leaders. She chairs a statewide committee on race, equity, inclusion, and access, and she's the Supreme Court liaison to the Access to Justice Commission. Now, the graduating class chose the speaker, not me, but I have to say I was thrilled that they chose my friend Justice Dallet. She is not only a fantastic speaker, but a wonderful human being. And it is my great honor to introduce Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice Rebecca Dallet.
Thank you, Dean Takagi, and thank you to the graduation committee for this invitation to speak here to you today. It is such an honor. I want to thank also the friends and family that are here today. I know Dean Takagi already did that, but your love and support has enabled this class of 2022 to earn their law degree. So I think we should all give the friends and family another round of applause. To the class of 2022, you did it. Congratulations. Go ahead. Yeah. Like all the classes before you, you have earned the proud distinction of being University of Wisconsin Law School graduates. But you are special. You attended law school during a pandemic. I remember law school as participating in organizations, gathering in study groups, and having spontaneous debates in the hallways with fellow students and professors. Your experience was certainly different. As I thought about what to say to you today, what advice to give you as you set forth on your path as new lawyers, I thought about what it was that helped you navigate the past 3 years and what will serve you best in your careers. Curiosity. Curiosity is defined most simply as a desire to know, interest leading to inquiry. We are born with unbridled curiosity. Picture a baby who grabs everything in reach, or a toddler being told it's time to go to bed. Why do I have to go to bed? She asks. Because your body needs sleep, she's told. But why does my body need sleep? And so on and so on, until the conversation likely ends with, because I told you so. But that's just it. Your greatest strength, your superpower, is to not accept the answer because I told you so, or because that's the way it's always been done. To ask why, and when given an answer, to ask why again. There is study after study which shows the benefits of curiosity. When our curiosity is triggered, we think more deeply about a problem and come up with more innovative and creative solutions. Instead of frustration, we develop persistence. We are better able to manage stress. We are better leaders. She agrees. When we try to understand where the other side is coming from, we become better advocates. And in the process, we become less self absorbed. Sounds easy, right? Unfortunately, it's not. You will be met at every turn with cynics and skeptics. It is an understatement to say that our justice system is set in its ways. Take the United States Supreme Court as an example. We have just celebrated a historic moment in United States history, the confirmation of Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson to the United States Supreme Court. Yes. She is the very first public defender to have been seated on the nation's highest court since its formation in 1790. And for 177 years, every person ever seated on the Supreme Court was male and white. Of the 115 justices who have served on the court thus far, only 5 have been women. I would note as an aside that 5 of my 6 colleagues are women, and that we are one of the few courts in the country that are a majority women. Thank you, yeah, I like that too. When the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg was asked, when will there be enough women on the court, she would reply, when all of them are. After all, for 200 years, it was all men, and nobody thought there was anything unusual about that. Justice Brown Jackson's experiences as a public defender may change the way the court talks about and assesses facts and arguments. She will hopefully help to shed light on the inequities in our criminal justice system. And with Justice Brown Jackson taking the bench, for the first time in history, white men will become a minority on the Supreme Court. She stands to broaden what we think about as the face of American power. When I think about my own path, it has been curiosity that has guided me. I grew up in a suburb of Cleveland, Ohio, and yes, I did attend a rival university that starts with B. I was deeply connected to my Jewish faith, where I learned the importance of tikkun olam, which in Hebrew means to repair the world. It was there that my passion and fire for justice was kindled. I was lucky. I know that. I had earned a merit scholarship to Case Western Reserve University School of Law, which allowed me to graduate debt-free and to be more free to pursue a career in public interest law. I had great professors, like the ones here at the University of Wisconsin, who inspired me to pursue a career in public service. Like the University of Wisconsin, Case Western Reserve University was one of the first law schools in the country to provide legal services through clinical programs to those in need. But I didn't just learn how to practice law in law school. I also learned how to think in ways that help me outside the courtroom. I learned to seek out people who share my passion for justice. After a federal clerkship and a tenure as a state and federal prosecutor, I was appointed Milwaukee County's first female court commissioner. Shortly thereafter, I ran for and was elected to the county judgeship, but I continued to question how can we improve the criminal justice system? So I became involved in judicial education, leadership, and efforts to achieve access to justice. A decade later, I thought, I can do more. So I ran for and was elected to our state's highest court. Along the way, my husband Brad and I raised 3 daughters, one of whom I'm proud to say is a Badger. The volume of cases in Milwaukee County Circuit Court is incredible, and it sometimes felt as though I was on a treadmill. I remained mindful of the importance of carrying out justice for each litigant, each victim, and the community on a case-by-case basis. But operating case by case, the most systemic issues in our justice system are very, very difficult to address. Our justice system is not yet living up to the promise of America, where all are entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If someone is wealthy or white, they are much likelier to avoid criminal prosecution and use our legal system to their advantage. They are less likely to face a prison sentence if convicted of a felony, and they are more likely to be able to afford to hire an attorney and win in civil court. One recent statistic drives this point home. According to the Sentencing Project, Black Americans are incarcerated in state prisons across the country at 5 times the rate of white Americans. Wisconsin leads the nation in incarceration of Black Americans at 12 times the rate of white Americans. 1 in every 36 Black Wisconsinites is in prison. In a free nation, this simply cannot stand. We must recognize that our country and our state are rightly criticized for the data that clearly shows how people of color, especially Black Americans, are being left behind. Then we must ask why. How did we get here? And how do we go about changing it? I joined the court at what I think we can all acknowledge is an unusual time in our history. Our country is as divided as it has ever been, perhaps since the Civil War. We have massive political divisions. In fact, it seems more Americans are moving into enclaves where we most always interact with those who are most similar to us. But Justice Louis Brandeis said, America has believed that in differentiation, not in uniformity, lies the path of progress. It acted on this belief, it has advanced human happiness, and it has prospered. I must associate myself with these words. Our future lies not in division, but also not in uniformity. It lies in accepting and honoring our differences, in welcoming immigrants, and in building diverse communities. It lies in actively seeking justice wherever and whenever we can. I know that with some renewed effort, our justice system can live up to the expectations that people have of us. I know we can use our curiosity to find common ground between those who disagree politically to do better in policymaking. When we identify and recognize policies that have a disparate racial impact, the courts can step in and demand a change. But let's try to get there before the Supreme Court of a state has to step in. Paula Francisi, a professor of law at Seton Hall, says it best in her essay, The Good Lawyer. As attorneys, who do we think we are? We are the champions of the underdog, the agents for change, the vessels for justice to work miracles in a world desperately in need of our light. We must decline the opportunity to believe less than this. We cannot allow anyone's limiting thoughts or harsh judgments to infect our own. These are strong words, and I would add one more thought. We cannot let cynicism overcome us. Yes, as attorneys, we must always serve the interests of our client, but we must be aware of our larger impact as well. You are entering into this profession energized and ready to face the world. As you settle into your practice, balancing work with family and community, the more systemic problems may seem too big to tackle or feel just too removed from your daily life. It will seem easier to just do things the way they have always been done. But I challenge you all to remain curious in your work and in other aspects of your life. Don't just settle for the status quo. In a profession where we are expected to know all the answers, be the one to ask questions. For many of you, I hope a career in public service is next. Some of you may choose to use your law degree and not practice law, but use your skills in business or in politics or to teach. For most of you, a career in the private bar is next, but you also have choices to make. Represent the interests of your clients well and within the bounds of the law and our rules. But when you see an injustice in how the rules work, don't just work to exploit it. When your case is over, work to correct it. We all have to do our part. These responsibilities fall to all of us, not just those who are articulating their faith, not just those in public service positions. Let me be clear. It is our duty as lawyers to pursue justice always. It doesn't matter what kind of law you are going to practice. With your work and by your actions, you will continue to help decide what kind of country we are going to live in. And as you are now someone who has studied the law, you have a special responsibility to make sure the law is working for all of us. More than anything, we as practitioners in the law must decide that we can have an impact no matter what we do, as lawyers, as citizens, and as members of our larger society. Remember, we together all have a responsibility for Tikkun Olam, to repair the world. First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt said, "It isn't enough to talk about peace. One must believe in it. And it isn't enough to believe in it. One must work at it." Now, you are about to enter the world as a law school graduate. You may practice law or you may not. But no matter where your journey takes you, believe in peace, believe in justice, work at achieving it, and let curiosity be your guide. Thank you, and congratulations again.
Thank you so much, Justice Dallett, for those wise and inspiring remarks. Justice Dallett, I must say, was exceptionally generous in accepting our invitation to speak this year because one of her own daughters is graduating from an institution in another state. So she had to leave immediately afterwards. It was nothing that you all said to attend that graduation. But I just want to express how incredibly grateful we are to her for making time to speak with all of us today. You may have noticed that the written program contains in the very back a whole bunch of awards and recognitions that our students have earned during their time in law school. Um, we don't have time to go through all of those today, but I would really encourage you to read about them all in the back of the program. Our next speaker is one of our student speakers, whom our graduating students chose from among their colleagues, Elise Ashley, speaking on behalf of the JD graduating class. Elise was born and raised in Milwaukee. She received her bachelor's degree in political science and criminal justice from UW-Madison. After this weekend, she will be what we so lovingly refer to as a double badger. She's been an exceptionally active member of her class, holding several leadership positions in the Black Law Students Association, serving as an articles editor for the Wisconsin Law Review, working in the Eviction Defense Clinic, a member of Moot Court, and the list goes on. After graduation, she will return to her hometown and work in commercial litigation at Quarles and Brady. It is my great pleasure to introduce you to the first of our student speakers, Elise Ashley.
Good afternoon, distinguished faculty and staff, alumni, family and friends, and of course, the class of 2022. I would like to first begin by thanking my parents, my sister, and all of my extended family for your unconditional love and support. You have all been my rock throughout not only law school, but my entire life, and I truly can't begin to thank you enough. I would also like to thank my significant other, who is also a part of our graduating class, for your optimism and encouragement. We have all traveled different paths to arrive here today. We pushed through moments where feelings of self-doubt or imposter syndrome seemed inescapable, or where distance from family, friends, or significant others weighed heavily. Despite all the obstacles, whatever they may have been for you, we persevered. So I implore all of you to take in every minute of this day and the little moments in between to recognize all that we've accomplished. However, before I turn to my next point, I need to be honest with all of you. I truly was at a loss for words regarding what I wanted to speak about today. So I consulted a few of my fellow graduates to see what law school meant to them. And walking away from those conversations, one thing was clear. While UW Law has provided us with a top-notch education, it has also brought us lifelong friendships. Despite differing backgrounds, beliefs, or life outlooks, we have connected in a way that I could not even fathom prior to beginning law school. What I also learned from my classmates here is that we are resilient. Law school is incredibly difficult. I won't try and hide the fact that I've shed multiple tears in the law library basement, or the despair I felt walking out of our Civ Pro 1 exam and desperately wanting to throw away the textbook, but didn't because it's way too expensive. However, by the second semester, things were beginning to take a turn. That is, until COVID arrived and turned our world upside down. Law school hastily transitioned online and left us to our own literal devices. As soon as we finished a class, we flipped to our next task, often in isolation. Despite being physically disconnected, we remained engaged with school, engaged in activism, and engaged with one another. After a year and a half of online classes, of forgetting to unmute, and far too many awkward Zoom silences, we transitioned back to in-person classes for a final year. Some of us felt elated, some felt nervous, and others, like myself, felt anxiety at the thought of picking up where we left off. Despite the physical distance COVID brought into our lives, the support and understanding we shared with one another during our online period allowed us to seamlessly transition back to our in-person interactions. This year has, of course, been filled with studying, but we have further fostered our friendships at Paul's Club on Thursday nights or at events like Dean's Cup and Barrister's Ball. But beyond the bar reviews and social gatherings, our law school experience revealed that we are all capable of navigating new situations with kindness, grace, and understanding. In a few months, and for some of us in a few short weeks, we will embark on the world as practicing attorneys. However, with that title comes a duty to serve as zealous advocates with the same kindness, grace, and understanding we have shown each other throughout law school. The past 3 years have been tumultuous and further revealed the fragility of our democracy. We have witnessed systemic racism in the form of violence against people of color for simply existing in America. We've seen the passage of legislation stripping away rights for trans individuals, and most recently, we've witnessed the whittling away of reproductive rights. In all of these cases, the law served as a tool to erode existing rights, moving us backwards rather than forwards. We must use our legal education to seek justice and ensure that we continue forward by being a voice for all, not just the few. In closing, I want to thank all of you, the class of 2022. As I look out at all of you, I am so privileged to call you not only my friends, but my future colleagues. And I can't wait to see what we will achieve. We have so much work to do, but the upside is we have the rest of our careers to get the job done. Thank you so much, and congratulations, class of 2022.
Thank you so much, Elise. You can see why we have been so fortunate here to have her as a student, and why, in just a few minutes and for the rest of your career, we will be so proud to call you one of our graduates. As I mentioned in my introduction, Elise took great advantage of the opportunities presented to her for service here at the law school, and she's not alone. Service to our communities, to the country, to the world. This is a core part of who we are, of the mission that animates this law school and this university, of what we refer to as the Wisconsin idea. And we know that you and that all of you will continue this service so central to the mission of this law school throughout your careers. I'd ask every student here who received a service award or who was involved in service through a student organization, in a co-curricular activity, or any other kind of service activity at the law school to stand as you are able. Don't be bashful. I know there are a lot of you here. Let's recognize their hard work. Thank you. You can see what an active, engaged, and enthusiastic group of students we have here at this law school. We really appreciate all you've done and all that we know you will do throughout your careers. Our next student speaker today is Etioso Ajomo, representing the law school's graduate students. Our graduate program houses several different opportunities for those who already have law degrees, mostly from institutions outside of the United States. Etioso was born in Benin City, Nigeria, received his bachelor's degree from the University of Benin, and then went to law school in Nigeria, where he was a student representative and head of the Moot Court Society. Before coming to UW Law, he worked as a corporate associate in Lagos, Nigeria. He also worked pro bono to assist individuals facing eviction or criminal actions. Here at UW Law, he has volunteered with the Unemployment Appeals Group and was a member of the Black Law Students Association. He completed his LLM, and we're very proud of all that he's accomplished. He is honored to have been chosen by his classmates as our graduate student speakers, and we are very honored to have him speak with us. Please join me in welcoming Etioso Ajomo.
Good afternoon, everyone. Dean of the Law School, the Graduate Program Office, alumni, faculties, parents, and friends here present, and of course, the Graduation Planning Committee. Before I start, I would like to dedicate my speech to my parents and my siblings. My parents are watching this program virtually, or due to some circumstances, could not make it here in Madison. It's indeed an honor for me to stand before all of you today on this special occasion to commemorate our graduation from the UW-Madison Law School. As I stand before all of you today celebrating our Udin ceremony, I reflect upon the various journeys that has brought us to this stage today. For all of us, our journey to the law school has been different, at times challenging, bumpy, or a smooth ride fraught with curves. But in all, we've kept the passion that has led us here to this place today. It wasn't an easy journey, but we are always optimistic, hopeful that we'd get here and stand before everyone. For this, I say, well done. As we all know, the past couple of years has had uncertainties, especially for some of us graduate students with international backgrounds starting out at the law school. For us, resuming at Madison was faced with doubt, lockdowns, travel restrictions, not knowing if we'll be able to resume in Madison. Why some of us did resume at the start of our program, others had to wait a semester and join later. When the circumstances did allow, we arrived in Madison. Madison welcomed us with its charm, a loving city welcoming to all, irrespective of your background, albeit not so during the winter months. We've been thankful to call this place home throughout our study. A few minutes from now, we'd all line up and have the opportunity to receive our hood, a accumulation of our efforts here at the law school. But with this opportunity comes responsibility, a responsibility to give back to the society from the privilege we've received. Our education here is a privilege. Graduation is not the end goal in itself, but a call for us to be part of a larger purpose in life. It should serve as a launching point for us wherever our future lies. B.R. Ambedkar, a foremost Indian jurist and minister of law, said, "What are we having this liberty for? We are having this liberty to reform our system, which is full of inequality, discrimination, and other things which conflict with our fundamental human rights. As we all know, our society has had massive inequalities, destruction of local communities. So I want us, as we go out today, let's think of ways to use our legal practice to work for our community. Ask ourselves, are we going to continue with the status quo, remain silent, and enforce a system that has perpetuated injustice in our community, or reflect upon today as an opportunity to make a stand and make a change in our community? As lawyers, our roles are different. We should realize we play a unique role in society, shaping legal analysis and conversation about the law. Ultimately, any action done in the society is going to be looked from the angle of good or right. But good or right has always been shaped as legal or illegal. And most of those pronouncements made by the courts are always as a result of arguments made by lawyers. That is why I'm using my speech today to bring attention to rising inequalities in the world. Inequality has continued to rise among various communities. Although wealth has increased, knowledge, more of the society has become educated, inequality hasn't reduced. The pandemic has further exacerbated this rising inequality between the rich and the poor. Inequitable access to vaccines by poorer countries has affected the effort to combat the global pandemic. While the pandemic remains a global issue, vaccine access remains a challenge to developing countries. This is due to the cost of the vaccine, restrictive IP rights that prevent them from producing the vaccines locally. As Ellen DeGale once put it, a lawyer, the difference between the rich and the poor is becoming more extreme. And as inequality widens the gaps in major nations, education, health, and social mobility are all threatened. We do not live in the world alone. The more inequality begins to rise, the more the world becomes unsafe for all of us. Let's all keep that in mind as we live here today. Continue to fight on the side of justice. I count on all of us today to go out and use this opportunity to do great deeds in our community and across the nation. I hope we keep the torch of UW Madison Law School burning. It's been a privilege to be here. Happy graduation, class of 2022. I wish you all the best in your careers and life. I thank you so much for believing in yourself and salute you for everything you've accomplished. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Etiosa, for sharing your intellect, your sense of justice, and your warmth with all of us today. And speaking of warmth, our next speaker, like the others chosen by his classmates, is from the great state of Hawaii. Von Dickens Abero Ulsa came to UW Law School. Um, and we believe that in coming here from Hawaii, he has helped bring some of the warmth and beautiful sunny weather that we see outside today. He graduated from the University of Hawaii in 2016, earning a triple bachelor's degree in American Studies, English, and History, with a minor in Filipino language and literature. Before coming here, he worked at a small business firm in Honolulu. He also built a successful career as an international artist. Wow, how many people can say that? Both a lawyer and an artist, excelling in both. He was selected as heading artist for the Coachella Valley International Music and Art Festival in 2017, and his works have been displayed in Los Angeles, Seattle, Washington, and Ontario. During his time here in Madison, Vaughn has been an active member and co-president of the Asian Pacific Islander and Desi American Law Students Association. He competed in moot court, donated original artwork for our Jackie McCauley auction, which raises funds to support students in public interest work. He is very honored to have been chosen by his classmates to speak today, and we're so happy to have him speak with us. Please join me in welcoming Vaughn Dickens Avero Ulsa to the podium.
Woo! It's finally warm to wear one layer of clothing outside, but they make us wear this again. So, friends, family, classmates, professors that I like, viewers from all over the country and the world, aloha. I don't remember why I picked Wisconsin Law, but I remember when. I remember sending that yes email and my non-refundable deposit, telling myself Wisconsin should be okay. I like the 2019 Bucks jerseys and basically binged every Charlie Barron's videos on Facebook. What could go wrong? Well, the very next day, when I sent that email, a polar vortex formed right over the Midwest. I also cannot remember my first flight from Honolulu to Madison, but I remember opening my eyes as soon as I landed at Dane County Regional Airport. I thought we had made an emergency landing at a Target parking lot, but no, I have arrived, and just a few miles away from the airport stands the very institution that will change the trajectory of my life. That institution is, of course, Culver's East Town. My first visit to Wisconsin Law was through the LEO orientation. LEO stands for Legal Education Opportunities. It's basically a program that teaches students of color, even the white passing ones, to find ethnic foods in Madison. Aisle 64, Walmart Nakusa. The first student I talked to was the queen of Tulsa herself, Sarah Gatsimorati. We were looking for room 3250 in the building with 2 third floors, but no fourth floor and no first floor. We almost fell in love, but we know law students don't date each other, so we remain BFFs. It is during this orientation where I was fortunate to meet and form lasting relationships with some of my classmates that will impact our law school community. To name a few, Chief Student Ambassador and my forever puppy, Jessie Castañeda, and law review queen and superstar Mehak Qureshi, who basically represented 50% of the Middle Eastern Law Students Association. The LEO groups are important parts of enriching and expanding diversity in our law school. Recently, the admissions released a welcome video that when you mute it, you'd think it's an advertisement for a law school in New Mexico. That's right. Our law school is getting very diverse, that if I were to give this speech 10 years from now, I would have opened with, Buenas tardes, damas y caballeros. Denle las bienvenidas desde la Universidad de Wisconsin al nuevo presidente, Sebastián Uribe. Our journey that ends today started in August of 2019. Since then, we each lost 10 pounds from hiking Bascom Hill. but also gain 10 pounds from the leftover foods from countless law events, and then lose that same 10 pounds after having to take the stairs because the atrium elevator is broken. It was a school year that started off normal, you know. Professor Sharafi was throwing eggs and frying pans in our contracts class. Professor McDermott was teaching that like green book with like rules or something. Professor Glinberg was rotating his cold calls between 7 students. I was a victim, and raise your hands if you've been personally victimized by cold calls. There's more of you, stop lying. I know Diane Dillman's email. As the spring 2020 semester loomed, things were starting to change, and there were signs right under our noses. Some of us survived the gas leak incident during Professor Ard's poverty class, and some of us had to read 200 pages every day for Professor Klug's poverty class. It was basically the end of the world. But it was in the year 2020 that our law school experience would drastically change because of the COVID-19 pandemic. We became students of Zoom Law School. Paul's Club became a tantalizing Asian past. We were stuck in our rooms with our heavy books and our low GPAs from previous semester. It was also during this pandemic that we saw law in action right before in our very eyes. We had difficult, challenging, and necessary conversations in criminal law and criminal procedure during the worldwide protest against police brutality and racism sparked by the murder of George Floyd. We had similar conversations during the rise of violence against Asian Americans across the country. We also saw constitutional law in action as we discussed constitutionality of mask and vaccine mandates, even though some of you don't know what HIPAA stands for. And just as 2020 ended, we saw the importance of civil procedure and professional responsibility from the Trump campaign lawsuits after the election. We did it, Joe. One particular student, of course, suffered incredibly throughout this remote year. Yes, it is Steven Su and his 293 blazers that he's not able to wear in person. He is this year's co-president of the newly named Asian Pacific Islander, that's the American Law Students Association. It served a home to me and other diverse student body, especially to several students from China. 一直以来，我的听得懂你们说的话，是的，白了读书分子。She's laughing. I did it right. Throughout this pandemic, we were led by a new dean, Dean Dan Takagi, who won his position after winning a trial by combat against Dean Margaret Raymond. Leading the school during a pandemic is not easy. To this, he enacted an open door policy where students can reach out to him about any issues. This policy was so popular and his door was so wide open that at one time a wolf came in. That's a weird time. Some people get it. But I think during our remote year, one of the best things that came out is the new ways we form connections and friendships through group chats. I am, of course, part of the famous gay group chat, TM. Gay, of course, means happy and joyful. It's a group chat of students who bonded over European law and German bananas. I would not have survived law school without future Blue Book editor Ola Lisowski, meme goddess and international law expert Catherine Trudeau, citation queen and mother of my children, Kristen Wilshire Salmons, and Lancaster County's baddest public defender, Charlotte Wines. I'm also part of an unlikely group of chat, which I like to call the government group chat. It's comprised of future US President Kyle Clark, who would of course appoint to the Supreme Court the one and only Nate Kane, and he will also appoint as Labor Secretary the one and only Martha Burke. Kyle would of course pick a powerful woman of color as his running mate, and that would be me. Speaking of group chats, I'd like to quickly share my power rankings of my most outstanding group chats, people in my group chat. So number 5, Erin Hayes, woo! Fitness queen and lead organizer of our Barristers Ball, where we all ask the question, Sarah Malik was dancing with who? Number 4, Mike Jerkash, volleyball beast, Milwaukee's future top attorney and the only white man I will respect. Number 3, Mia Blasingame, queen of outlines and intellectual property extraordinaire. Number 2, Christia Anderson, aka Transactional Spice, founder of Professor Andrew Turner Fan Club, and poster child of the Wisconsin International Law Journal. Oh, sorry, I meant Wisconsin Law Review. Apologies to the 8 people that read them. And for number 1, because he is the sexiest, I have no reason why, is no other than David Mazzella. Woo! Congratulations. But alas, we were able to return to Bascom in fall of 2021, restoring a little bit of normalcy in our educational experience. We are welcomed with familiar half faces and a law school back entrance that screams towards exam hypo. We became the last class to know where Lubar Commons is, and we collectively hated all the 2Ls for not knowing about unassigned permanent seating. And that leads us to today and me standing in front of you. We come to school to learn, but my journey to Wisconsin Law School helped me unlearn many things. I am a first-generation immigrant, and I know that immigrants and children of immigrants always worry. We worry that we're not doing enough to be deserving of the privileges of living in this country. For many immigrants, being treated with kindness is a red flag. We take kindness with caution and suspicion that for some reasons we are not deserving of something good because we did not work for it or earn it. We feel that kindness is a reciprocal of our actions. And if we cannot give something back for it, we reject it. And that is perhaps what's the most important thing I unlearned from this institution, UW now, not Culver's. I deserved a ride offer from Kaylin Beamer when buses from Madison to Chicago shut down during the pandemic. I deserve the pen that Grace Kish lent me on the first day of class because I left my pens in my locker and I don't know how to open a locker. I deserve all the soup and hugs from Gina Neroni to keep me warm in the winter. And I deserve the constant reminder of Samira Kolur, who've always reminded me that life outside of law school is sometimes more important and more valuable than the promises of law school. And this is the biggest lesson I learned from Wisconsin law. I live an amazing and comfortable life back in what many people think is paradise. Surfing into sunset, swimming deep in the open waters of the Pacific, and hiking the mountain ranges of Oahu. To move to a drastically different place was a decision that confused many, but it was a decision that became one of the best because of the aloha I found and felt from all of you. Today is perhaps the last day we are all going to be together since we were welcomed by the law school in the music hall in the fall of 2019. For some, it's the last day you'll get to see the person you hate, and I love that for you. But I want you all to remember that no matter how powerful the degree we will be getting today will make us, we've always had a more powerful ability, and that is to be kind. Before I close, I'd like to say thank you to my parents who flew all the way from Hawaii, Dick and Cherry Pie Ulsa, my siblings, Von Dixon Ulsa, Von Dickinson Ulsa, yes, we ran out of names, and my sister, Cherise Ulsa, who were my first trainers for oral argument, but I won now because I have the JD. Thank you, everyone, and aloha.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Vaughn, for sharing your memories and your inimitable sense of humor with all of us. You can see why his classmates chose him as one of our speakers for today. And, you know, this is just a wonderful thing about this university and about our state. Vaughn came to us from Hawaii, which was something in itself. And he shared with me at lunch before today's program, he's staying here. We bring these wonderful people to Wisconsin. That's right, clap. And many of them decide to stay and keep their talents with us. So we're so fortunate for that. Um, our next speaker is our faculty speaker, also chosen by the graduating class. This year's class, in its wisdom, chose Professor Heinz Klug. He is Evju Bascom Professor of Law here at UW. His research and teaching interests include constitutional transitions, constitution building, human rights, international legal regimes, and natural resources. He grew up in Durban, South Africa, and was an active member in the struggle against apartheid in South Africa. He spent 11 years in exile, returning to South Africa in 1990, where he served on the ANC Land Commission and the ANC Constitutional Committee, later working with the South African Ministry of Water Affairs and Forestry and the Ministry of Land Affairs. Make no mistake about it, Heinz Klug is a real life freedom fighter, someone who has risked his life to make life better for others and to serve the principle of equal justice for all. He's a highly regarded legal expert on constitutional law, land reform, and water law as well, having shared his knowledge with audiences around the world, including Australia, Belgium, Canada, Chile, China, Colombia, Ethiopia, Germany, the Netherlands, and of course, South Africa and the United States. I couldn't be happier that this year's graduating class chose Professor Klug to serve as our faculty speaker. Please join me in welcoming my friend, Professor Heinz Klug.
Graduates, I'm happy to join your parents and families, deans and colleagues when I say congratulations. And congratulations too to your parents, partners, and families who undoubtedly are delighted that the long-awaited graduation date has finally arrived. I'm honored that you chose me to speak today, although I was a little surprised after what 2/3 of you went through with me in spring 2020. I did not think you wanted to be reminded of my COVID-induced crash course in online teaching, that property class with my dreadful attempts to produce asynchronous lectures, aka death by PowerPoint. One thing became clear: I have no future in filmmaking. You, however, students, faculty, and families have demonstrated extraordinary resilience over these last 3 years. Your time with us at the law school has been truly historic. While the global pandemic has shaped your law school experience, little did we expect the historic reckoning these last 3 years have brought. No sooner had we been largely confined to our homes by COVID when we watched in horror as a representative of the law spent 9 minutes suffocating George Floyd to death, throwing a spotlight on the structural racism generations of Americans continue to confront. As the wave of protests subsided and many communities publicly acknowledged the continuing manifestations of historic injustice by removing some statues, we entered a new political season that brought a change in national leadership, but also a challenge to our democracy. Despite the courts reviewing and dismissing a multitude of challenges to the elections, the January 6th last year, we came far too close to witnessing a refusal to peacefully transfer power, the very hallmark of constitutional democracy that this country has maintained with all its imperfections for close on 250 years. Even as we were able to return to classes in person and to seek a new normal, thanks to the miracle of vaccines not imaginable in March 2020, events global and local have continued to shake our world. Your final semester has been marked of images of horrendous violence openly inflicted for no justifiable reason on the people of Ukraine. Finally, to top it all, in the last moments of your law school career, we have seen a breach of confidence in our highest legal institution with the unexpected release of a draft Supreme Court opinion. The draft opinion, which clearly indicates the court's willingness to cast aside a precedent that has been relied upon for nearly 50 years, reflects on an unprecedented level of polarization within the court and just how politicized our judicial system has become. As complicated as the issues might be, this is also a rare moment in which constitutional rights and individual freedoms in the United States have been restricted rather than expanded. Whatever you do in the future, today marks the beginning of a professional journey, one that will offer opportunities as well as obligations. As lawyers, you will sit in the front row of life's dramas, conflicts over resources, power, and personal relationships. If you work in the courts, you will see accused individuals retain or lose their freedom. You'll be drawn into the pain of victims and families. Outside the courts, You may sit at tables where financial deals and legal settlements are being hammered out. As advisors and counselors in government or civil society, you'll be at the center of political conflicts, confronting government and private power. This front seat role is both an extraordinary privilege and a significant burden. You're responsible to your clients, but as an officer of the court and our legal system more generally, you're also responsible to uphold and give meaning to the rule of law. As it happens, I was elected class speaker at my own graduation ceremony in 1989, before most of this class was born. At the time, I was in exile from South Africa, the country of my birth. Nelson Mandela was still in prison. While many of my classmates were headed to law firms, I was headed into the unknown, back to Africa to continue opposing apartheid. But sometimes life takes amazing turns. Within a year, Mandela had been released. Soon I was back in South Africa, where I had the extraordinary good fortune to serve in South Africa's transition to democracy, and as a young lawyer, to participate in the country's constitution-making process. Those experiences, right out of law school, shaped the way I think about the profession you are about to enter. Substantive notions of law and rights serve as the foundation of our professional commitments and obligations. As lawyers, our ultimate responsibility, one that incorporates our duties to clients and our own personal and professional integrity, is to uphold the rule of law as guaranteed in the Constitution. From this perspective, constitutional supremacy gives us a substantive vision of democracy, a vision on which professional lives are built. Even as you pursue your own professional and personal goals, never forget that your profession and the law is best served by ensuring that regardless of how hard you fight for your clients, that you remember that your duty is to protect the common good. Some might argue that government by law, that is, the principle that all people and institutions are subject to and accountable to law that is fairly applied and enforced, has always been a core element of our government. But we should never forget that the law has repeatedly been restored and reinvigorated through the struggles of communities, social movements, and their lawyers. This understanding of law's role goes beyond procedural formalities or law on the books, embracing instead a vision of the law as upholding the dignity and equality of all persons, even in the face of unjust laws. Remember, I grew up in a country that claimed to abide by the rule of law, but it was the law of apartheid. That system's laws of racial oppression imposed by a white minority was enforced by courts that imposed injustice. Sadly, most South African lawyers accepted apartheid, refusing to question its legal injustice or even to acknowledge the way both the law and its enforcement systematically denied most South Africans their basic human rights. Their failure to speak truth to power has left deep wounds in that society, where the legitimacy of law cannot be taken for granted. When law loses its legitimacy, lawyers face difficult choices. Even at apartheid's height, a few lawyers, both black and white, did challenge unjust laws. In the 1950s, two young lawyers, Nelson Mandela and Oliver Tambo, recognized that the injustice that was being meted out in the name of law, and dedicated their practice to defending those victimized by the racist system. Eventually, Nelson Mandela abandoned his legal practice for political struggle and was later sentenced to life in prison. His law partner, Oliver Tambo, went into exile, where he worked to mobilize world opinion. The rest is history. Nearly 30 years ago, South Africa adopted a new constitution, establishing a non-racial democracy and the rule of law. The Constitutional Court, like the Supreme Court here, continues to reshape and reconsider the substantive meaning of South Africa's new constitutional order. The court has struck down some laws, including the death penalty, because its application is inherently unequal, and required the government to provide all South Africans with certain positive rights, from a right to shelter to antiretroviral medicines. And the court has had to deal with new problems, including political patronage and corruption. The rule of law, like a spring garden, demands constant tending. The struggle for a better society is not only ongoing, as reflected in the old slogan, Eluta Continua, but is also endless, as new challenges like global climate change and the fragility of our global order create new conditions and provide new opportunities to imagine a better future. The United States Constitution is over 200 years old, but even here, each new generation of lawyers struggles to define rights and protect dignity. This is no simple task, and each of you will face these questions in different contexts, and will have to think about the broader implications of your arguments. Throughout our history, generations of lawyers have responded to unjust laws and advanced their own visions of a more substantive rule of law. From lawyers who went to court to assist fugitives fleeing slavery, to lawyers who defended the activists of the civil rights movement, who demanded equal, not segregated education, and who refused to sit at the back of the bus. More recently, lawyers have played important roles in demanding accountability from police departments, forcing into the open cases of police violence, and demanding that those in authority respect the basic civil rights of all their residents. These traditions of legal activism are shared by lawyers from across the ideological spectrum, from civil rights to the Second Amendment, from efforts to enhance the protection of property rights, including fighting illegal home foreclosures, to questions around women's control over their bodies, how to ensure loved ones may die in dignity, or how to respect the reality of transgendered people's lives. These struggles are based on promises central to the Constitution's vision, a society ruled by law, equality, and dignity. Recognizing and upholding a substantively rich conception of the rule of law might sound like a very heavy burden to impose on new graduates, but it is important. Within the system of rules considered generally legitimate and applied fairly, we are left with without a system of rules considered generally legitimate and applied fairly, we are left only with the exercise of untrammeled power. The great claim of the law is that it provides for the exercise of power while simultaneously protecting against the abuse of power. Democracy provides a mechanism for majority decision-making and voice for those who participate. But the rule of law requires that any exercise of power must be justified by reference to an explicit grant of authority or a reasoned explanation of how and why a particular decision is legitimate under law. As lawyers, you have the skills to understand and articulate such justification and to hold others accountable to that legal reasoning. Lawyers have traditionally served their communities, and the profession provides a common language to resolve conflict. As lawyers, you have the opportunity and obligations to help address the social and economic needs of society through your political and legal engagement. This is the opportunity you have, and I hope you will embrace it. And again, congratulations. I wish you every success in your future endeavors.
Thank you so much, Professor Klug, for sharing your insights on the true meaning of the rule of law, what all of our graduates, and indeed all of us lawyers, can do to advance it as well. I do want to call our attention, all of your attention, to the cardinal red stoles that a number of our graduates you'll see wearing. These stoles are representative of those students' high academic honors and how they have consistently excelled during their time here at UW Law. We also have other academic recognitions honoring students' performance in particular areas, and a Dean's List recognition that students can earn on a semester by semester basis for their academic achievements. So at this time, I want to recognize all of our students who have received academic honors and awards of one form or another, asking all of you to stand as you are able. If you're wearing a cardinal stole, if you were recognized with an academic award, if you've ever been on the Dean's List, I ask you to stand now so that we can recognize you for your hard work and academic achievement. Again, I know, don't be shy, please. We are proud of all of our students, but this recognition was hard earned. And so as your teachers and advisors, as well as your family and friends, we want to recognize your special achievements. We're now coming to a very special time in the program, the moment or moments that you all have been waiting for, the presenting of our degree candidates with their hoods. This symbolic process publicly demonstrates your completion of your degree, and you should feel free to wear them around the street afterwards in celebration. So the colors on the hood represent both the graduate's field of study and the university where you earn your degree. The purple represents law, and the red represents, of course, this great university. If you look at the regalia our faculty are wearing on the stage, you'll see lots of different hoods of different colors representing the different universities that we attended to earn our law degrees. Now, sad to say, you may not have your chance to wear academic regalia again anytime soon, but if you do have occasion to wear it at an academic ceremony and it's properly chosen, you and everyone else can figure out, if they know the secret code, what your highest degree was, that is a law degree, and that you earned it right here at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Okay, so here's what's going to happen now. Our graduates are going to stand row by row when directed to do so by the ushers and head for the stage. They will then be presented by degree type and alpha order by last name. We're going to start with our JD students, our student speakers, and then move to our graduate students. You should all have a card, which I saw you all filling out busily as you were reaching your seats. When you come to the stage, please give your card to our crack staff. And when your name is read, you'll step up to the faculty members on stage who will present your hoods to you. They will actually pull it over your head and complete your regalia. 2 graduates will be hooded at a time, and when you get up on stage, you'll see these 2 lines, blue and yellow, for those 2 lines with arrows. Then our wonderful staff will help make sure that your hoods look perfect. Each graduate will then join me in front of the UW banner for a photo. If you're already hooded, please just proceed to the area of the stage where I'm standing for your picture. All right, well, this is a celebratory moment, and we want you to enjoy it and to do so in a way that suits you. Audience members, family, friends, loved ones, feel free to cheer, to make noise, to be silent, take photos, whatever. This is your time to celebrate. We do have a professional photographer somewhere around here. Okay, there she is. And the images taken of graduates will be available afterwards for purchase if you so choose. But you're also welcome to take your own. And we've got plenty of space, as you'll see up here. We invite you to come up front when your graduate is about to be hooded. And don't be shy. Come up and get your photos. It's been a long time coming, especially with all that we've been through over the last few years. So you've earned it as well as our graduates, and we want to get you to be able to get good pictures. There's only one thing we ask. There's not, of course, room up here for everybody in the audience at once. So please approach the area when your graduate's last name is going to be called. And then after you're done snapping your photos, we'd appreciate your kindly returning to your seats so other friends and family can snap their own photos. That would be great. So we ask also that you keep the aisles clear. The fire marshal, given the large crowd, will very much appreciate that so that the graduates can return to their seats. So now is the time where I say, places, everyone. All right, here we go.
Rebecca,
All right.
get the mic.
Just make sure. Sweet. Go. All right. I'm going to do you in the order that you spoke. And so I'm going to take Elise first. All right. You ready? Elise Ashley.
Etiosa Emmanuel Ojomo.
Von Dickens Adero Ulsa. Mackenzie Ahmet. Ben Alexander. Arman Alpar. James Edmund Anderson. Christia Noel Anderson. Will Rice Anderson. Alexandra Jade Andringa. Brendan Emmett Ash. Ruba Asaf. Chrissy Adderholt. John Barrett. Peter A. Bazianos. Emily Marie Bain. Allegra Lene Berry. Michael Bezoyan. C. Michael Bjorling. Anne Blackburn. Madeline Claire Blanchard. Nia Emani Blasingame. Chase Blevins. Monica Bachdor. Kaylin Bamer. Max Bogust. Abigail Bongiorno. Justin Kent Brewer. Reed Bookinger. Martha Lee Burke. Andrew Raymond Campbell. Lane Carver. Jesse Castañeda. Alexis Catherine Catalano. Jing Xuan Chen. Megan Christopher. Kyle J. Clark. Emily Ann Cole. Samita Kulur. Emma Cantino. Marianne Correa. Michaela Dado. Sarah Dadu. Charles DeSaris. McKenna Dawaucha. Camila D. Mowry. Emily Rachel Dickens. Jocelyn Donahue Renfert. Catherine Drana. Caitlin Dryden. David Earlywine. Desiree Marie Esker. Courtney Evans. David Ewert. Heather Fay. Wilson Fay. Ari Feltman Frank. Paige Forrester. Sarah Fox. Madeline Frances Freiberg. Adriana Arlene Ferretti. Jacob Garman. Graham Gerhart. Sarah Ghazi Moradi. Margaret Nan Ginocchio. Anne Glauven. Elizabeth Gruning. Alexander Hahn. Anna Hartz. Vincent Hauser. Aaron Trant Hayes. Tim Hennigan. Amber Hobbs. Mike H. Holland. Jesse Hooker. Stephen Shee. Jiayu Hua. Jack David Irie. Mamadou Jawo. Ashley Johnson. Jake C. Jolling. Nicole Jones. Sarah Jones. Nicolette Jordy. Michael Yurkosh. Tommy Kozkowski. Nathan Kane. Madeline King. Michael Kirkpatrick. Grace Kish. John Klagas. Taylor Elizabeth Clocko. Sterling Kanaki. Ryan Kohler. Julian Kuntz. Cedric Castellana. Matthew William Coolio. Sammy Lawrence. Hannah Leadham. Tyler Lemieux. Tess Lewandowski. Zoe Ileana Liss. Ola Lisowski. Cass Alexander Longy. Refugio Cuco Longoria. Taylor Lovett. Ryan Luca. Sarah Ann Malik. Veronica A. Mantilla. Manzano Nieves. Paul Matner. Adam Joseph Mason. David Gerard Mazzella IV. Madeline Ann McHugh. Colin D. McHugh. Caitlin McNamara. Cameron Melcher. Andrea Murky. Samuel Mohabban. Connor Mooney. Mackenzie Lynn Moran. Jimmy Morrissey. Alyssa Mullaney. John Connor Muth. Gina Marie Nerone. Alex O'Connor. Madeline O'Connor. Dylan Ochoa. Michael J. Oden. Helena Brown Odo. Griffin Oleszczuk. Mary Osterby. Jesse Owens. Riley Palmer. Zoe Polish. Mitchell Philbin. Hannah Pollard Garber. Nicole Joy Pomish. Derek James Punches. Mehak Wasim Qureshi. Nick Wraith. Antone Rogozin. Jenna Riddle. Natalie Riopel. Samuel Roberts. Rachel Robulli. Caroline Rogers. Ruth Marie Ross. Melissa Rubio. Miranda Salazar. Kirsten Wilshire Solmons. Stephanie Schmidt. David Schneck. Avery Schulman. Catherine Buckley Scott. Brady Seidlitz. Danielle Elizabeth Sendelbach. Ryan Sendelbach. Emma Shambreck. Andrea Shine. Bronwyn Sigala Westgate. Olivia Simmons. Tanya Shakievich. Jordan Small. Kristen Smith. Ryan Swowdy. Madison Stallman. Sierra Stallworth. Rebecca Stern. Kevin Stuke. Crystal Stonewall. Davis William Sullivan. Paul Tadros. Marino Taylor. Alexa Thomas. Haley Koch. Catherine Margaret Tui. Rafael Torres Rodriguez. Catherine Trudeau. Sebastian Uribe. Thomas Fernando Valerio. Brian Guillermo Vargas. Megan Villapando. Katrina Vogie. Ori Walsvik. Cara Weatherby. Cullen Werwe. Caitlin Willenbrink. Gretchen Elise Winkle. Kathleen Wood. Emma Woods. Mitchell J. Wright. Charlie Wines. Erica N. Young. Alexander Zahn. Ganjin Zhang. Daniel Zhao. Megan Ziesman. Linnea Marie Marin Zintman.
Yishuan Shia.
Irvi Amin. Naishu Chung. Diana de Perola. Yun Kyung Juna Lee. Gabriela Martins. Kanika Parmar. Katharina Peter. Philip Proft. Lucas Schmitz. Jiyuan Shao. Anne Wong. Zi Tong Muo. Delroy Williams. Zhang-Ti Li.
Let's hear it for the class of 22, everybody. Woo! That's right. Absolutely. Congratulations. We are so excited, and we absolutely cannot wait to hear and read about and see all the great things that we know the class of 2022 will accomplish in your careers as lawyers and leaders. We will miss you, and we are honored to have been part of your journey. Please know that not only for the rest of your careers, but the rest of your lives, you will always be part of the University of Wisconsin Law School community. We hope that you will always consider UW Law your home away from home. And my sincerest thanks to you all for choosing to come here. I do want to give a shout out to our amazing staff who are scattered around the room, who've been working today's event. Please join me in thanking all of them. So I heard a rumor that like yesterday, people were starting to refer to Hoodgate. Is this true? For those of you who don't know, supply chain issues and everything else. So our hoods and gowns were very, very late in getting here. They did, of course, arrive, the last of them, just before today's ceremony. But Associate Dean Ginny Josty and her team in External Affairs did an amazing job of making sure that everything got here and that our ceremony has proceeded today without a hitch. So thanks so much to all of our staff for that. Okay, we are just about done here. We would ask that our guests please remain seated until the faculty and graduates have exited the hallway. Ushers will assist the graduates to the recession by releasing you row by row at the appropriate time. After the ceremony concludes, thank goodness we have a sunny and not rainy day, we would invite you all to join us all for a reception outside on the roof, which is an absolutely gorgeous spot on Monona Terrace. Thank you all again for being here today. Thanks to those of you joining us remotely. And most of all, congratulations once again to the class of 2022. Time to party. Let's go. Woo!